Nerds assemble! Ooh, ooh, ooh. Don't you just love tasty tobacco? Yeah, me too. I'm smoking From Beyond. Pretty cool blend. It's Cornell and Deal small batch, but it's also part of their Old One series, but based off a 1980s tin of Dunhill Nightcap. Never had 1980s Dunhill Nightcap, but either way, I'm sure it's just about as good as this. It's freaking delicious. Smoking out of a Hackert, Jake Hackert. This is a cool little pipe. I love his tree bark rustication. Let's see if you can. Oh yeah, pretty cool. Never mind the grimy hands. Just part of being a man. Or a woman. Who knows? Before we get too far, I want to thank you for showing up. My name is Nick, and I'm a chain smoker. But not the chain smoker you're thinking of. No, I call myself a chain smoker because I link... Yeah, pretty clever. I link the rich history and heritage of pipes and pipe tobacco to a more sustainable existence in the future. Really, that's just a fancy way of me saying I make videos on pipes and pipe tobacco, and I'm lucky enough to have you fellows or ladies watch my content, so I appreciate that. So this video is going to be a tobacco review. Get this. I call my tobacco reviews chain reactions. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to regret that or not yet. Only time will tell. But we're not going to review From Beyond or Dunhill Nightcap. We're actually going to do a neat little comparison to a tobacco that has a flake version and a ready rub version. So we'll talk about the differences and the similarities. It's an old tobacco. Recipe's been unchanged since the late 1800s, and it's named after a spiritual dog, so that's pretty cool. Just want to point out that this was a tobacco that I avoided and was very reluctant to try for a very, very long time, and we'll also talk about that. All right, let's get right into this. Today's blend is going to be... All these YouTube content creators drop the suspenseful reveal of what the video is going to be, like there's not a title of the video or some sort of thumbnail, so... Oh, surprise! St Bruno Flake, oh wow! Who would have guessed, right? Yeah. Okay, so we're going to talk about St Bruno, and it comes in a ready rub version in the pouch, and it comes in the flake version in the tin because, well, why not? And yeah, it's the same tobacco. It's the same exact tobacco. So how could there be a difference? Well, there is, and I think it's interesting to analyze that. So what the heck is St Bruno? Well, it's a Virginia and Darkfire Kentucky blend. But there's some Lakeland essence mixed in there with it, and if you know what Lakeland essence is, and you know why I'm hesitant to sort of bring it up, but I think it helps the blend. I think it complements the blend. I don't think it's too perfumey or soapy. I think there's a little bit of floral characteristics that come through. But hear me out. My opinion is that it complements and adds to the earthy tones and characteristics, especially when the Darkfire Kentucky comes through. We'll get into that. So, it's a Virginia, Darkfire Kentucky, minimal Lakeland essence, but it's pretty good. I know it's good because I smoked through this blend faster than I smoked through most blends I've ever tried. But it really comes down to this blend coming out of a pouch. And I'm embarrassed to say this, but I might have been a little bit of a tobacco snob and turning my nose up at pouch tobacco. Well, over the last year and a half, I've ventured into a lot of pouch tobaccos and have been pleasantly surprised. And it got me thinking about this St Bruno that I always see in a pouch and have always said, no, not for me. Why would I smoke anything out of a pouch? The point is I shied away from this blend because it was in a pouch and it's just a silly thing to do. So how did I get around to trying it? Well, I make my way down into Chicago every now and then, and if you guys are from the Midwest, you probably know Ivan Reyes is an old tobacconist in the heart of downtown Chicago. There's a gentleman that works in there, and he was pushing the St Bruno pouch on me for a while, and I kept saying, no, I'm good. One of the recent times I was in the shop, he said, hey, have you tried St Bruno? It's a really great blend. I was like, heck, let me try it. So I picked it up, and before I even got home, I opened up the pouch, loaded a bowl, and started smoking. I was like, what the heck? What the heck was I thinking? What? Like, I missed out on this great blend. How can you do that? How can you say, oh, I'm not going to like it. You've never tried it. How can you say that? I don't know. Yeah, it didn't take me long at all to smoke through that first pouch, and it put me in a frantic dash to get more St. Bruno as fast as I could. I was very excited about the blend very early on. I even made a TikTok about it. The Ready Rub version out of the pouch, but I recently...
Wait, I'm a freaking tobacco now? What the frick? That's not very Saint-like. Okay, you wanna smoke me? That's fine. You're a pack of blasting lunch, because it's gonna take you all freaking day, mother fricker.
It's a good time to say holy smokes.
Get a lot of sweet, bit of silly, ridiculous pipes and pipe tobacco content on TikTok. So if you like that sort of thing, definitely go check me out at chain ... smoker. All right, so I got the Ready Rub version loaded in a sandblasted Il Ceppo. This is a nice little pipe that I go to quite a bit. It's one of my favorites. And then I have the Flake version loaded up in a meerschaum. And this is one of my first meerschaums, so I wish it colored more, but hey, it's just how it goes sometimes. So let's light these guys up and see what the differences and similarities are. So with the Flake version, right off the bat, I do get a lot of sweetness. The Virginias really shine through at the beginning, and really all I notice is the Virginias. So let's get down a little bit further and see when we start to notice the Dark Fire Kentucky. Well, it doesn't take long. Getting a little bit of that robust, earthy characteristic from the Dark Fire Kentucky, and I'm getting a little bit of a floral characteristic shining through. It's a earthy Dark Fire Kentucky. It's not a very smoky Dark Fire Kentucky, if you know the difference. When I think of smoky Dark Fire Kentucky, I think of Doblon d'Oro from Savinelli. That's definitely a real smoky blend. Yeah, I'm still not very far down the bowl, and I'm getting a lot of that Dark Fire Kentucky presence. Still got a lot of the Virginia presence. They're really coexisting at this point. Nearing the halfway point on this Flake version. Haven't needed to relight it really at all. I did put some more flame to it just because made things easier, but I could have easily brought it back to life after tamping a few times. So burns pretty good. There's a little bit of a spice that's coming through, and it's almost like a Perique spice, but I know there's no Perique in here. Normally I would say that's from the Dark Fire Kentucky, but sometimes some hardy Virginias could provide some of that spice. So I'm not sure if it's from the Virginias or the Dark Fire Kentuckys, but it's an added flavor characteristic that's very welcome. I'm digging it, and we'll see if it ramps up any further as we get down towards the bottom of the bowl. Right now, the flavors are very much still coexisting. They're not really fighting to see, which one is going to come out on top. They're very, I don't want to use the term balanced, but they're balanced. So as we work our way towards the bottom of the bowl of the Flake version of St. Bruno, no real major shifts in flavor profiles. We do notice that it is becoming stronger. The Virginia sweetness has died down, but we do see that there is, a Virginia presence holding its own against the Dark Fire Kentucky. The Dark Fire Kentucky just has become more robust and, more earthy, and that spice has picked up, so that spicy characteristic is, more prominent as you smoke the bowl down. But the major theme here is the flake version. We see that the Virginias and the Dark Fire Kentuckys are doing a great job of, maintaining a neck and neck sort of race. It's a photo finish, really. All right, folks, let's blast off with the Ready Rub version. Again, the Virginias are really making their presence known, and that's about all I'm detecting at this point, the sweetness from the Virginias, but definitely very delicious. Great way to start off a blend. So the sweetness that I'm getting right off the bat is very similar to the sweetness that I got at the beginning of the Flake version. It makes me think of some fruity sweetness, but not your typical citrus fruits that you normally see with Virginias. My mind is going towards a juicy pear. Also, a lot of that baked good, bready, sort of yeasty Virginia characteristic that you get there, and paired with that fruity goodness, how can you go wrong? Just now starting to get a little bit of that floral characteristic, and that's likely from the Lakeland essence. It shows up a little bit at the beginning like it did with the flake form, but it will likely dissipate well before we reach the halfway point. So it's not something that I find is a lasting flavor characteristic. So still working on about the first quarter of the bowl here with the Ready Rub version, and no real definitive sign of the Dark Fire shining through, still just the Virginias. So some good sweetness. Maybe think of like a baked pear tart and some rose water. Sounds kind of weird when you say it out loud, but it really does a good job of just being all around tasty. Still in the first third of the bowl here for the Ready Rub version, and we're starting to see the Dark Fire Kentucky is making its presence known. I love the way that it mixes and mingles with that floral sort of Lakeland essence. I find that it really adds to the earthy quality. When you think of earth, sometimes you think of dirt, but sometimes you think of flowers. So it's a good mix of dirt and flowers. How about that? Nearing the halfway point on the Ready Rub version, and that spicy note that I noticed about the halfway point of the Flake form has been around for quite a while already. So it showed up a lot sooner in the Ready Rub version, but it didn't maintain a consistent presence. It kind of did one of these, and in fact that's probably the most important note I can illustrate, is that when these notes come through in the Ready Rub version, they come through and they show up, they prevail as the most dominant flavor, whether it's the notes of the Virginia tobacco or if it's characteristics of the Dark Fire Kentucky. But then they get overtaken, sort of fighting to see which one comes out on top. A little bit more dynamic, if you will, with the Ready Rub version. So I'm into the second half of the bowl here for the Ready Rub version, and no real major flavor changes or shifts, but the Virginia, not as sweet as we saw at the beginning of the bowl, and as we get down further in the bowl, the Dark Fire Kentucky becomes a little bit stronger and a little bit spicier. So where we had that spice come through in the first half of the bowl, we're still seeing it, but it's more prominent. So it's starting to build up some steam. All right, let's recap and analyze the similarities and differences of the two versions of St. Bruno. Now, right off the bat, we did see as a similarity, they both started out with a lot of Virginia sweetness. And I found that fruit sweetness sort of dissipated as we got into the second half of the bowl, and the robust sort of bready notes of the Virginia maintained. Now we saw that both blends took a little bit to get that Dark Fire Kentucky to make its presence known. The Flake version allowed the Dark Fire Kentucky to sort of come out a little bit earlier in the game versus the Ready Rub version. We saw that spicy characteristic was present in both blends, and it also ramped up in intensity as you smoked the bowl down in both blends. Now, here's the biggest difference. The Flake version is much more balanced. So the Virginias and the Dark Fire Kentuckys were not, taking the lead, so to speak, like we saw in the Ready Rub version. The Ready Rub version, they were fighting to figure out who was going to, shine the most, who was going to be on top. Okay, folks, how do you know which version of St. Bruno is going to be best for you? Well, if you're the type of person that hangs out at the back wall of the gymnasium during the middle school dance, hoping that nobody sees you, but at the same time hoping that special someone sees you, and you don't forget those dance moves you've been practicing for weeks, and the Flake version is for you. But if you're the type of person that enjoys watching the dryer during the spin cycle and gets excited when your favorite pair of Holy underwear makes themselves known through the window, and no matter how long you watch that spin cycle, you still can't anticipate when your favorite pair of Holy underwear are going to make their presence known again. And it's exciting. It's very exciting. Then the Ready Rub version is probably the best bet for you. You like to blend in against the back wall of the gymnasium, and you like to watch the spin cycle. Well, get both. It's a no-brainer. Come on now. If you're a fan of McBaron's HH Old Dark Fire, there's a good chance you'll like St. Bruno. It's not a direct comparison. Not to say that it's apples to apples, but it's not apples to oranges either. All these things are preferences and subjective sort of experiences, so your mileage may vary, but I highly recommend St. Bruno, and if you try it, I hope you like it. And until next time, we'll see all you pipe nerds later. Sweet smokes, everyone.